But the son was somewhere wandering around and then feeding pigs and actually taking part of their feed.
Yeah.
So when you are in the wilderness and you are not putting things right, and you have assumptions and presumptions and thinking that you will get to a certain level in life or you grow your business to a certain level, nobody meets you until you take that decision, which is very bold, which is very ambitious, to take the step and then say that this is how I want to run my business. And for that reason, you will have a certain father sitting somewhere looking at how good you are putting your things together and the bold step you've taken and the choices that you've made, and then he will come in. That's when he's going to kiss you. So when the investor is coming to kiss you, it is when you are ready and you've taken the steps.
The decision has to be made.
The decision
it
has to be made.
Conscious. It has to be deliberate. It has to be intentional.
You have to move.
Right.
If not, it's not going to happen. So as at March, the end of March, just 2 weeks, a week ago, the total amount of investment that had come to startups, that's for the first quarter in Africa, was 309 million United States dollars. This is just for the rest of Africa, excluding the big four, that is Nigeria, I think Kenya, South Africa, and Egypt. So Nigeria alone had about $600 million. And then
that's twice what the rest of Africa had.
So assuming the rest of Africa had 309 million, as I've indicated, for just the first quarter, what have we done as a people to position ourselves and our businesses to attract this kind of funding that is in the space? It is sitting somewhere ready to be used, but who are the qualified people to attract such investment?
And for me, the statement you just made is the core of the conversation that we're going to be having over the next 2 days. How do you, and you use the word for me, position yourself
exactly
to take advantage of the resources that are available? You do not have to do it all by yourself. There are people whose job it is to help people like you and me.
Yes.
It's part of the world system.
Yeah.
But you must position yourself and look and play the part before that help comes to you.
Yes.
And that's the conversation we're having
That's
today.
exactly what we're doing today. So there are investors out there. There are people with the money. They need you to position yourself properly to receive it. So what we talk about investment readiness, all that we mean is the capacity of an enterprise to understand and meet the specific needs and expectations of investors. And it plays a critical role in shaping whether your business receives that funding. So what are the things that you have to do? There are two key components, and we are going to concentrate on the first component. We'll look at the rest later, but the first component that you need to look at is your business viability. And then the second one is the quality of the investor material. So when it comes to the quality of the investor material, the finance people and accounting people will come and speak to how your book should be run and the kind of proposals you should have. I'm looking at the business viability.
Right.
What do you do as a business person? How do you position yourself? So first, the investor is looking out for a business that is sustainable with a good business and sound model. So you have to get a very good and sustainable business plan, and running. It's not just on paper, but something that is being implemented. And you should be running your business well, that is having the right and corporate governance structures. So you remember last year, we dealt a lot with corporate governance and how to position yourself. It plays a role in attracting investors. So then we are also going to look at having the right policies in place in the light of the dynamic legal regime. So there are new laws that comes up almost every time, the international best practices, what is happening around the world and what is happening in the country that you need to position yourself and comply with in order to be able to attract the right investors. And then you should have the right team in place, and then you should be compliant in terms of regulations. So if you are working within a certain space, how do you comply with the regulations in that space? And then we have, when it comes to the comply, we have the industry specific. I'm not sure we may be able to go into that. We can deal with that next week, and then we see how best. So when we take the first step, which is making your business viable, Then we are looking at sustaining that business. And as part of that, you should look at a certain market target that you have. So who is your market target? Which people are you trying to attract as a business person? So you've set up an enterprise. How long have you been in operation, and what is your target? How many years do you intend to take to attract, let's say, 1,000 customers, or have 500 clients who will be paying 2,000 cedis monthly for your business, patronizing the product that you are producing? And then the product or service demand. You know, currently, because of the war in Ukraine, there is a high demand for fertilizers across the globe. Globally, as at 2020, Russia alone was producing 9,430,000 metric tons of fertilizer. And now there is war, there are sanctions on Russia for them to be able to produce that. What are you doing? How are you positioning yourself as a business person? Looking at the demand and supply chain, how are you going to be able to position yourself to have such a production, to be able to meet the demands of the world? Because now all over the world, even locally, we start having issues with fertilizer if the war continues. So if you have capacity and you are studying the market, what are you doing to attract that kind of investment to be able to make such production? You should be able to know what is happening on the market in terms of demand and supply. Then you should look at the competitive landscape. So yes, someone is into water production and you also intend to go into water production, and there are about 20,000 water production units in Accra alone. Would you want to still go into water production, looking at the demand and supply chain analysis? So you should be very competitive. You should look at what is happening around you to be able to meet that competition. If it's not an area to venture in, you have no business going in there, because already the market is smaller, but we have a lot of suppliers. And then you look at the barriers to your industry. There are some industries when you want to venture. So when we go to the industry specific, like the petroleum industry or to the mining industry, you see that there are some blockades that you need to, some hurdles that you need to jump over to be able to have that kind of service being delivered. So if there are some barriers in that space, what do you do to be able to jump over? And as a business person, you should be positioning yourself in your books and then in practice to make sure all these things that I'm talking about, that is making sure your business is being sustainable to be able to attract the investors, is on the right path. Then there should be some historical performance. So your books should also be able to reflect that 5 years ago you were making so and so profit. So in the next 8 years, you project that you're going to make, let's say, 100% or 200% profit based on your historical performance. So when you have all of this in place, that means that your business is sustainable and it is on the right path. And anybody that looks at how you run that business would then be willing to invest in it. Then we go into good corporate governance structure. So I wouldn't go so much into that because we tackled a lot of that last year. But I mean, just to refresh the memory of
touch on it.
Yes.
Yeah,
so
for those who missed that lesson,
your board structure, the qualification of board members, the appointment of members, and the control of members. When it comes to board members, independent board members, how are they able to take decisions independent of any control, external control that will be able to, because the investor is looking at how you are running the business. So if the board members are people who are coerced and they are restricted in a way and they are unable to take the right business decisions and they don't even qualify, then nobody is going to invest his money in that business for somebody to take decisions that will not be under the control of the board. And then when it comes to the role of committees that we set within the board, and even the executive directors, their compensation, even the management members, how much are you paying them? Some people spend all their monies. At the end of the day, they declare profit and then they are sharing it among board members, and it doesn't go, they don't plow back profit to go into the business to be able to be sustainable. And then the role of other supervisory agencies, even within your space. Is there a strong regime that protects the kind of business that you do? So we had issues with the banking sector when we were dealing with the board issues, and we realized how the oversight responsibility was not properly implemented to the extent that banks had to fold out, we had to close some banks when it got to the point that nothing could be done about their performance. And then having the right policies at the workplace. So when you are setting up a business, you should be mindful of the kind of policies that in the past we used to overlook. Now, something like data protection. There's a whole legal regime around data protection. So what is the data protection policy of your business? An investor would want to look at that. Yeah. An investor would want to look at your anti-money laundering policy. So I'm not sure 10 years ago we were too much fascinated about anti-money laundering. No, it was something that was far away from us. But now there is a law in respect of anti-money laundering, and you should make sure that as a company or as an entity, your business is such that you have a policy at the workplace in terms of how your finances are transferred and moved and where you even get your monies from. Because then if there are suspicions of drug and political monies that are being stolen and hidden through business accounts and then making it look genuine, no business investor would bring his money to that kind of business, because people use businesses to front for their fraudulent deals and their illegal activities. So you should have a strong policy. Occupational health and safety is now a big deal. So if you want to be in the mining space, you want to be in the petroleum space, you want to be in construction, you want to be in manufacturing, what is the policy in terms of occupational health and safety that would guide the performance of your staff? Because then if the right safety mechanisms are not in place and there's persistent workplace accident, there are issues happening with PPEs, and there are problems with gadgets that are being used, you are getting electrocuted here and there and all of that. Nobody would want to push an investment in that regard. And then issues such as whistleblower policy, you should have some of these policies in place such that when someone is even squandering money in the business, there should be somebody somewhere who would be able to listen to you independently and be able to take decisions. Such policies should be at the workplace to be considered by an investor. So they look at all of these things and your adherence to same. If you are not adhering to it and you have the policy and it's sitting on paper and there's no record to reflect that, mind you, you are not going to receive that kind of investment. Let me give you an example of something that happened. So there's a client that we are advising, and the client is carrying so much money to invest in a business portfolio in Ghana. This is an international client. So the client comes in and the business company brings their proposal, they bring all their books and everything.
And numbers.
Yes. And it looked very good. And I'm jumping into regulatory compliance with this. It looked very good. And then the investor asked, as part of due diligence, just one question. Can we have a copy of the minute that you drafted at the time you were taking a decision to borrow so and so amount by the board? And the company seeking to get that investment, and we are talking about $2 million, could not provide the minute. So it means that they have been operating the company. They have indicated they have a board in place. It is mandatory that once there are you've taken a decision, there should be minutes of that decision, and there should be a resolution to that effect. So if the board indeed took that decision and there were minutes taken and a board resolution was signed, same should be filed with the registrar of companies, because anytime you take decisions and there are resolutions, you have to file it. So your filing regime.
You know, this point about minutes that you talk about, it's a beautiful example.
Yes.
Because it's one of those things that hitherto, should I say not until about 3-4 years ago, was considered as part of an internal record, which was not subject to external scrutiny.
Yes.
And so maybe the auditors at a certain level, external auditors would have asked for it. But now the regulator, in the financial sector, for example, they're asking for minutes of meetings.
Exactly, because some people sit somewhere and then they just draft some resolution and go and file it, as if some meeting took
place.
but there was no meeting.
And another thing about minutes is also that, and if you're listening to us, you're a business owner, it's absolutely important, because email and communication and phone calls are not exchangeable for minutes. The thing about minutes is that it proves that there was
a meeting.
A meeting.
Yes.
And this is what was discussed.
Exactly.
And the thing is that if you have not been in a meeting, it's difficult to make up minutes, because
you cannot.
The minutes reflect the divergent views and the conversation
that took place.
Not the summaries.
Yes.
So that whoever is reading it can make up their own mind. So then you get to drill down and see what was discussed, who said what went before. And it's very important that you mention that point, because it's a serious thing. If you want to be a serious company, you want to position yourself, start taking these things seriously. Conduct the meetings. Don't just call them and it's a monologue.
Yeah.
And you are talking at them.
Yes.
It's not a meeting.
Nobody is contributing. It's a decision that you are imposing on everybody.
I mean, now they're looking at very, very minute detail. Investors are looking at minute detail of all conversations.
Yes.
And sometimes there was an example that someone shared with me that says, why is it that when I discuss something with my people, they come to a meeting and repeat the same thing?
Yes.
As if they don't understand what I said. And then a senior person said, they do that because the conversation you had with them was in your office.
Yes.
It's not on any record.
Yes. Now they want it to be on record,
so that it goes into the minutes.
Yes.
And I thought that was insightful.
Yes, very, very smart one.
They are saying it again so that it
goes recorded
into the minutes.
Yes.
Because the minutes is now a very key document, you know. And this is just one example of many documents that an investor will be looking to have. We learn as we go along.
Yes.
It's best practice. If you haven't been doing it, let's start doing it.
Yeah.
Richard.
Okay, great. So you don't have to take such things for granted. You need to be very serious about it and make sure it may sound, like you said, very, very basic, but it is very important to an investor. It shows the investor how you've been taking care of your business, how you've been taking care of even the minute things, and how serious you are with where you are going with your business. And as part of regulatory compliance, we are looking at GRA. Are you paying your taxes? Are you filing the right returns? Are you reporting the right figures that you are having as a company? Are you paying your social security, yourself, your staff, for the company?
That's a big area for most people. Most people don't do it.
So you get some guru boy somewhere and you just go and do a tax returns and then bring it to you. But now they would want to see every step of the way that you took to file your returns, and if indeed there were audited accounts and it was really properly done by a credible accounting firm to go through and see that this is what actually transpired. Do you even have your sales record books? Because they can go as low as the record book. And if you are not complying, it means that you just cooked some figures and then you took it to Ghana Revenue Authority. So yes, when it comes to even insurance, now, I mean, an investor is bringing $3 million into your production unit, and then the whole facility is not insured. So if you make an importation of, let's say, 200,000 or 500,000 or 300,000 or even $1 million importation of raw materials, and you bring it for production, and then fire catches the whole building, what happens to that investment that has been made? There's an act of God, you say. You call it force majeure in law. So because of the act of God or the accident that has happened, is he going to lose his investment? He wants to be sure that you have a certain insurance policy covering your structure, covering even the equipment you have, covering the raw materials that you import, so that in case tomorrow there's an eventuality that you could not foresee, that will be taken care of, so that the investment does not go waste. And then even with your municipal assembly, you know, there are some permits that you need to get when you're operating a business. It's so basic, but people fail. And you realize that the reason why an entity might not have even gotten the permit is because that entity at that point in time is operating at a certain vicinity that is not earmarked for the kind of production or kind of business he or she is doing there. So because of that, you will not even go to the assembly to get the business operating permit to be able to operate there.
And they'll just cut corners. I mean, if you're listening to us this afternoon, you know, like I always say, we learn and we move forward. You're listening to us this afternoon, you're saying that, listen, up until now, I haven't done the right thing. I haven't done my books properly, my taxes I haven't filed, my SNIT, all those things, I haven't done it well. let's start from somewhere. Draw the line underneath all that you've done. Get in touch with people who are professionals. We always say that there are people who are trained to do the things that you are unable to do. Shout, get some help. I mean, Richard is here today from FirstCode Management Services. They are a friend of the show. They offer this kind of service. Get in touch with Richard and his team. They will be able to take you through a process that helps you to get back on track. Your taxes are properly filed. Your returns are properly done. You are not going through any short corners. You go through the proper road, and then you become better for it. It may cost you a bit, but there's always a cost to correcting the wrong when you've been doing the wrong for so long, isn't it? So that you can now position yourself properly. Even if it is not to attract investors, it's to prevent the day when a certain taxman will knock on your door and say, for the last 5-7 years, you have been stealing from the government of Ghana. That one, when they slap you with a penalty, it will take grace to be able to
and when it comes to issues of tax, the Ghana Revenue Authority is very powerful. And when they do the assessment, and if you want to challenge the assessment, you need to pay 30% of that before you can challenge the assessment. So if you want to do a tax appeal, then you have to pay a deposit of 30% of the amount that has been assessed.
I'm sure my good friend Richard Corey is listening. He was on the show, I think, last year.
Okay.
And I'm sure we'll bring him back at some point. He was educating us on tax.
Great.
Tax is one of those things that is required. We need to do it as a country. Nobody wants to do it willingly, but it's necessary. Just make sure you do it right. Do it when you are supposed to do it. Because if it piles up, then it becomes difficult to pay.
It's so difficult.
And then you're always in the rat race and you're running around. I want us to get interactive so our listeners can be a part of this. So we just want to take a quick break from our sponsors. When we come back, we continue our conversation.
Your favorite on-air business development program, Joy Business Masterclass, is in session, and you can interact with us on Facebook via the Joy 99.7 FM or Joy Business pages. If you tweet, the handle is at Joy 997 FM or at Joy Business GH. Don't forget to hashtag JB Masterclass. You can also call us on 0302 216541 or send your questions and contributions through to the WhatsApp number 0551 111997, and our facilitators will address your concerns. Attention everyone, class is in progress.
Welcome back. If you've just tuned in, this is Masterclass here on your Superstation Joy 99.7. I'm spending time here in the studio with Mr. Richard Adu-Darko of FirstCode Management Services. Today we're looking at investment from the perspective of the investor. What will the investor look out for? Should you get to that point in your business where you want to expand and increase your horizon, take on bigger contracts than you've been doing? How do you prepare yourself and position yourself to take advantage? There's a lot of money sitting in the world every year, earmarked, waiting to be given out to companies like yours and mine. You were sharing some statistics. The whole of the big 4 countries in Africa, Nigeria alone in the first quarter has benefited from up to $600 million United States dollars as support for businesses. The rest of Africa, which does not include the top 4, I think he mentioned them, Kenya, South Africa, and I think 2 other, Egypt, and then there's one more country. Apart from those 4 countries, the rest of Africa has benefited from half the amount that Nigeria has benefited from. There's money sitting there. It keeps going back to chest because we're not ready. Our businesses are not positioned. Let's do the right thing so that we can attract the right kind of investment. We're interactive right now. Numbers to call 0302-216-541. That's 0302-216-541. You can also send us your comments on WhatsApp on 055-1111-997. Pick up that phone, give us a call. If you're driving, please don't text while you drive because we definitely want you to arrive alive. But otherwise, pick up that phone and give us a call. If you're also looking for support for your fees, your school fees, any urgent medical expenses, pop-up expenses and bills, home makeovers or renovations, or even for a holiday, it's that time of the year where people are beginning to get tired. Look no further. GCB, your biggest and largest bank in Ghana, makes life easy for you. So go to GCB and let them lend to you so that you can do any of these important things. They'll help you with their GCB personal loan. So you can visit any GCB branch today or call 0800-422-422 for a GCB personal loan. GCB, your bank for life. If you also own any motor vehicle of any kind, GOIL is rewarding all of its prepaid Go customers with 2% discount on every liter of fuel purchased. You can join the Go Club today by visiting any of the GOIL fuel stations or go to their website at registration.goil.com.gh. GOIL, good energy. GOIL, Yenara. Their phone lines are now open. Please pick up that phone, give us a call. Have you benefited from any kind of investment from any investor? How did you go about it? What were your learning points? Are you looking to position yourself to benefit from any kind of investment? What have you done so far? What do you need help with? Pick up that phone, give us a call. Let's have a conversation together so that we can learn and become better. Listen, you can't do it all yourself. And by the way, the principle of business is that at some point when it grows beyond you. You are doing business not just for yourself, but for everyone else who will come into contact with you. So you do need that help to leverage and build your business to the next level. Don't say, I can do it myself. I can. If you have all the money yourself, then you have all the answers. Then don't go into business. But once you're there, then you need to expand. And you need people to be able to pitch their tent to yours and say, let's do this together. Let's reach a wider audience. Pick up that phone. Give us a call, 0302 216 541. This is Masterclass. Richard, while we wait for the comments to come through, I think I have a few comments on WhatsApp. My production crew will put them together very shortly so that we can answer all of your questions here. So keep sending your comments to WhatsApp on 055-1111-997 or pick up that phone, give us a call on 0302-216-541. Richard, while we're waiting for the comments to come through, let's keep sharing those additional thoughts.
So we're on the regulatory compliance.
Right. I think I have a comment on social media.
Okay.
This one is from Ajingo the man. Okay, Ajingo, good afternoon to you, Ajiman Joseph. He says, good afternoon, Masterclass. Please ask for me, is it advisable to invest in a business which is almost collapsing, but still going ahead because it has a future? This is Ajiman Joseph, a.k.a. Ajingo the man. Oh, and by the way, Bob Hoxton is also listening. Bob, thank you so much for tuning in. Bob is a friend of the show from back in the day.
Great.
I'm excited that you're listening. Let's get in touch after the show, but thank you for listening. So let's answer Ajingo's question.
Yeah, so next week we're going to go into the kind of investment that can be made. So we are going to look at measures, we are going to look at acquisition, we are going to look at direct investment. So if you have a business that is almost at the verge of collapsing, and then you believe that
it has a future.
It has a future, and someone sits somewhere and says that, okay, looking at what has happened, looking at your historical performance and all of that, we can venture into this business, but we have to merge two businesses together to be able to do this, or we want to do direct acquisition, we want to give you direct investment, like give you capital to be able to. So we are going to deal with that. The emphasis this week was to be on the compliance issues and making sure that the business is viable, because now there are so many opportunities. Talk about fintech, talk about fashion, talk about oil supplies, talk about all this industry. And now, wherever you go, you hear about ecosystems, you hear about startups. There's a certain...
I was even talking to a friend this afternoon prior to the show, and he says the most trending word in business today is agile.
Yeah.
Agility.
Yes.
And it means different things to different people, depending on what you're looking at. But it just means the ability to adapt.
Yes.
Because the world is changing and spinning faster than ever before.
I don't know if you realize, all of a sudden, everybody is talking about startups. Everybody is talking about entrepreneurs. And there's even a government policy, NEIP and all of that. Even at our level at FirstCode, now we have what we call the Enterprise Bureau. It's a sister organization that looks at helping startups and making sure that we are able to assist them in a way to be positioned properly, to be able to receive investment. And there's so much funding in the system to be able to attract. So
that's what I'm trying to draw attention to. You know, but another thing, Ajingo, even though you're going to listen to us next week, God willing, do make sure that you are making your decisions based on data. Yes. Because you see, when you say it has a future, is it based on an assessment you've done? And that's the point that Richard makes, that maybe we've looked at it and it can be salvaged, and the future you are talking about can be achieved if, number one, we do a direct capital injection. If, number two, we change the corporate governance structure. If, number three, we put certain things in place. So make sure that your assessment of the company is based on data. And if you need help doing that, there are professionals who do this. So that Richard and his team are able to help. Richard, I'm sure we'll put the number out.
Yes, we are just a phone call away. I mean,
so that they can help you
FirstCode
to assess your company. If you're listening to us, you need someone to assess your company, to say, listen, I've run this company for XY, but do a health check for me. We go to the hospital to do a health check. Take your business to the hospital. Let somebody do a health check and an assessment for you, and find out whether you are, somebody say, whether you are employable, whether you are investable. Whether if somebody had $1 million,
investor finds you
company.
attractive. Yes.
You know, so take your business to the hospital and let someone look at it for you. Numbers to call again, 0302-216-541. Pick up that phone. We want to hear your voice. what is the state of your business? Have you been funded? Have you been invested in? What did you go through? Do you seek to be invested in? What are the questions that you want answered? Let's have that conversation together. You can also send your comments on 055 997. Richard, let's keep going.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we're also going to look at the kind of team that we put in place to ensure that your business is running well. So do you have a recruitment plan and policy in place? How do you deal with staff retention and succession? What is the history of your staff retention and succession? Do you have a plan? So you should put all these plans in place and you should be implementing it. So when I'm talking about a plan, it's not just being on paper, but actually taking the steps, just like the prodigal son. And then you should be looking at the management team members, the key people that are taking lead and managing the business. What are their portfolios? What have they done before? And if you need to bring in other professionals, how do you attract those professionals to come in to be able to position the business such that you look very attractive to the investor? And then your technical staff. So those that are doing the work. Yes.
One of the things that it just struck me as you talked about the teams is that, you can no longer just sit down and make believe on paper again.
Yes.
I mean, the world of scrutiny, which is scrutinizing our businesses today, is saying that we're pushing you gradually, we're nudging you from your area of comfort. Now do some real work.
Yes.
Do some real work.
Yeah.
I don't see how you can represent all of these teams if they don't exist.
Yes.
Because see, the next step is that they're going to ask you your recruitment plan. These guys can drill down to the point where they ask you for interview sheets.
Yes. And they want to see
So
your
if you're going to
assessment,
go
your
through
assessment document.
If you're going to go through the trouble of making up all of this, you might as well do it, isn't
Do
it?
it. Just take the step.
You might as well do it because I see that this process seeks to say, listen, let's begin to let it look real a bit. Do the actual work. Stop doing the make-believe thing.
Yeah.
And if you're a business owner and you're listening, time is fast changing. You can no longer just sit in your office and play boss. At some point now, you have to get the real thing done. It's not just a core business anymore. We're saying that your entire administrative structure, your corporate governance structure, your processes are of interest to the investor who wants to put $10 million in your business.
Yeah.
It's not just, are you making profits?
Yes.
Are you doing the right thing to get to that point? And these are the questions we're asking. They're uncomfortable, but it's where we are now. And if we don't line up, then we're going to become obsolete very, 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 very soon. Richard?
Yeah, so we should move away from the talk shop now and
Talk shop, that's the
go
word.
into real action. And I always say that at FirstCode, we are always available for you. That there are professionals there. We've done it over a decade, and we are well positioned to assist you do all of these things if you don't have it in place. And if you have it in place, then you should take steps to ensure that what you're doing is very right and professional. If not, just a call away, you call FirstCode and then we'll come to your aid and assist you. Get a professional to talk to. So yes, for this week, that's what I want us to.
The recommendation, even before you continue, is that you don't have to do it yourself. You don't have to do it yourself. There are people you can pay to do this for you as consultancy, and it's acceptable.
Yeah.
It's acceptable because they will do all of the work for you with the right resource, the right expertise, so that your paperwork will pass. When you go to the investor to go and make a pitch, and you say, my paperwork was done for me by X company, they won't reject it.
Not at all.
They won't. But
And you will not have issues of you not finding minutes.
Exactly.
Because as company secretaries,
Yes.
we keep your minutes for you.
Exactly.
We sit in your meetings.
Exactly.
And then we take notes. So we are able to file all of that
Exactly.
for you. So it's
Let's
so
get the right
convenient.
help.
Yes.
Let's get the right help. Let's do the right thing. Right.
Yes. So yes, once you have that team in place and you are going by the regulations and you are adhering to all the general regulations and then the specific industry regulations, then you are well positioned. Then you have the right image for an investor who wants to make an investment in your business.
Yeah.
And then they will be able to push in that money you so desire, or they may be able to even take over. You know, out there are some businesses that set up, and their preoccupation is that I'm setting up in the next 10 years, and I intend to sell. I intend to attract an investor after making $2 million or $3 million.
And then I'll sell.
And then I will leave the business. So what is even your strategy for the future in terms of bringing in partnership, in terms of bringing in an investor? So you should be able to have that well written down well implemented, and you push that agenda so that when you get to that point that you need the assistance of an external person that will fuel your business to propel to the next level, then you receive it. And once you do that,
You know,
then you
there's this example I'm going to give, which may not exactly be an appropriate example, but there are people who are cultivating personalities which don't even exist. And when I say cultivating,
yes,
they go through the motions of you are born, you go to school, they have school records, they have test cards, they have visits to whatever McDonald's. They grow the people who don't even exist, personalities till they are about 25, and they sell those personalities to criminals.
Yes.
And this is even doing the wrong thing. So your company that exists, why don't you take the time? Because as you move every day, you create traction in the sense of time. Document that traction. That's all we're saying. I've got another one on social media. Let me just take that quickly. It says, I'm trying to organize a business plan competition. I need crowdfunders or companies to help the winner with requisite funding. What do I do? Okay, you didn't add your name to this text, but I suppose that would be your business plan, isn't it?
Yes.
So if it's your business plan, then clearly what you could do is that put it together and then you can make a pitch to an investment company. But Richard,
and you have to even set up an entity. If you want to do something like this, you set up an entity. It's a business. You put your plan together, and then you do the pitching, and then you get the right.
Once it's a viable idea. People are willing to fund at some point. You know, somebody made a funny comment in this country. He said there were companies in this country which were willing to fund anything that moves.
Yes.
You know, when it moves, it's not something that's thriving. All you have to do is move from point A to point B. They'll sponsor you. They were sponsoring everything. You know, so there's money available. People are willing to put money into stuff.
Yes. So the point that we've made so far today is that as a business owner, as an entrepreneur, as a startup, you seek to get help from somewhere at a point in time. So don't wait until you need that help before you put yourself together. Start from the beginning. Make sure that your business is viable and make sure that it is sustainable with a sound business model. Make sure that you have good corporate governance structures in place. Make sure you have the right policies in place in terms of data protection, in terms of anti-money laundering, in terms of whistleblowing. Make sure you have the qualified team. Make sure that you are complying with the regulations. That's the regulatory compliance, the general regulatory compliance. So when it comes to your taxes, when it comes to GRA, when it comes to the register of companies, when it comes to social security, when it comes to all the other
your industry specific.
So like I said, next week we'll pick each industry, about 3 or 4 of them, and then look at the specific compliant regulatory area that you have to look at. So when it comes to the general regulatory compliance, then you have to make sure that all of this is done and you file all your returns appropriately at the right time. And then once that checklist is ticked, what it means is that you are well positioned, you are in a good place, and then an investor will be willing to put that cash or that resource that you need. Sometimes it's not just about the money. They can even be technical investment, where an investor will bring in technical expertise and then be able to push that business for you so that you gain that maximum output that you have been envisaging when you started the business.
Right. So what we're saying is that don't wait until you need funding or you need injection to become best in class. Be best in class. Let being best in class become part of what you do. Let it be a habit, so that at that point when you need funding, it's just a matter of just going over what you've already been doing, and then you'll pass and be relevant for funding, for investment. I see that my comments on social media, the person is trying to clarify. We'll take note of it, and then when we come back next week, we will try and answer that. But please add your name also to that comment for me. This has been Masterclass here on the Super Station. Our time has run out. Next week, God willing, we come back your way again with a continuation of this conversation. Thank you so much. My name is Yaw Barnafo. This has been Masterclass. Thank you for listening, and see you same time next week.